Hello, hello, can you see me now? Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday, July 5th, 2017. Steve Sipress here, your humble host. And yesterday here in the United States was what we call Independence Day, celebrating the 241st anniversary of when Congress agreed to, signed, promoted, whatever, the Declaration of Independence, where our country said, formed officially, and the 13 original American colonies said we are no longer going to be under the rule of the British Empire and King George of England, and we're going to do our own thing here. We're going to go from dependent, being under the rule of someone else, another entity, to independence and doing our own thing. And so that's the topic for today's Wisdom Wednesday. As always, I start out by sharing my rhino of the day, and today it is this sandstone rhino. I believe it's sandstone. It's a stone, rock, carved rhino, and I don't see, no, I just see some news, but I don't see where it's from. But this is interesting. You might notice here on the back of the rhino, and if you pay any attention to rhinos or pictures or videos of actual rhinos in the wild, you'll almost always see this bird back of the rhino, not necessarily all the way back there, often, right there up on the shoulder area, and that is called an oxpecker. The bird is an oxpecker, and you might ask, why is the bird always on the rhino? From what I understand, there are several reasons, but the main thing is for the safety of predators of the birds, whatever they may be, are not as likely to come around and be attacking and stalking the birds when they are sitting on the back of a humongous multiple-ton rhino. So, not that now rhinos are vegetarian, so these attackers, would-be attackers of the oxpeckers, not likely don't know that the rhinos are not going to eat them. However, they're big and honking rhinos with a big horn, and so predators stay away. So the birds get the safety, and what the heck does a rhino get out of it? Well, from what I understand, the oxpeckers eat the bugs that are hanging out on the rhino, like within the folds of the skin and so forth, and the oxpeckers are pecking in there and cleaning out the index. So it's like a symbiotic relationship, symbiotic being another word for the term interdependent. Okay, the rhino depends on the oxpecker, the bird, to keep them clean from the bugs and from being bothered and eaten by bugs. And the oxpecker depends on the rhino for some added safety, for survival. So that interdependence, and that's the topic for today's Wisdom Wednesday. When I was growing up, I was always taught, like, dependence, no good. Like, you're a baby and you got to cry and give me the bottle and, carry me everywhere, and then you can crawl, but it's like, watch out for this, and I got to take you everywhere, and this and that, and let's get you to independence, where you can walk to school on your own instead of need to be dependent and walk to school with somebody else guiding you. And can you be independent when I get my own bike? And can I bike around and not need a ride to everywhere that a kid has to go, to the store or to the doctor's office or wherever a kid has to go? My own bike, and I can go there and be independent. I can go to and from school without the school bus, without getting a ride. I can be independent. And of course I can walk, and that's the first step. And then getting the bike, I was much more independent. I can go all over the place. So that's what I was taught. You want to be independent, independent, independent. But you know what? I was deprived, so to say, not that I could ever really use that word to describe my upbringing. First of all, being born in America, so even the most poorest person in America is much better off than people in like 90% of the countries or 90% of the people on earth or whatever. But certainly I wasn't even anywhere near that. So, middle class, upper middle class, white collar dad. He was owning his own business and in sales. My mom was a school teacher. So, lived in a really nice town, a nice house and all that. So I was far from needy, but I was needing better advice as independent, because there's one more step up, and it's illustrated here by the symbiotic interdependent relationship between the rhino and the oxpecker. You see it out in the wild all the time, and yet often humans, like I was as a kid, are taught to be independent. Independence the thing. You know, be on your own, do your own thing. But there's this extra level, and that's why this is here on Wisdom Wednesday. It's my bit of wisdom to you is to think about interdependence, because business owners, by and large, we are taught and trained, and it's ingrained into our head to be independent. We run our own business. I own my own business is one of the most independent statements a person can make. Hey, thanks for the like, Latanya. Great to see you. And so business owners often champion the fact that they're independent. You know, I left the job I was on, being dependent, and I moved to the much higher plane of being independent. I get to pay myself. I got to bring in I determine how much I get paid, and I determine how many employees I have and where to place an ad and whether to buy a new truck, and I'm determining my business. I'm independent, and so many business owners, like I did for a long time, hit the ceiling there of as far as independence can take you, and don't break through it to the much, way, way higher plane of interdependence. So let me give you some examples. So there's a business owner like I was when I first owned my first, my first multi-million-dollar business. I started it when I was still in school, my last year of law school, and then I ran it for 7 years as an adult, and I thought independence, the way to be. But that ends up causing a lot of trouble, and eventually the demise and the dissolution and destruction of that entire business, because I didn't have a board of directors to interact. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a coach. I was too dumb to have any of that stuff. So everything was my decision. It's my company. I'm going to make the decision. And it was seat of my pants and doing my thing. And it worked. And the company grew like crazy. And, I got an offer for $1.75 million for 45% of the company after 3 years. So, therefore that valuation is a little over $3.5 million after just 3 years. So, 4 more years later, and the business was basically doubling in size. I bet somebody would have given me, 5, 10 million for whatever. However, then I crashed and burned the whole thing because I was independent. I was stubbornly on my own, independent, and I didn't move to the next plane of interdependence. So interdependence in business is where you move beyond the independent phase. Hopefully, well, by definition, I would say starting your own business is the dependent phase, that's for sure. You're not working a job. You're not working as dependent of all a government job. You are working for yourself. You own your own business. You're independent. But you move to interdependence when you start thinking about what kind of relationships, what kind of cooperative things can I do with other business owners and even non-business, just with other people. What I need to get a coach, I need to get a mentor, I need to get consultants in here, I need to have a board of directors, I need to join groups of entrepreneurs and business owners and be around other people to bounce ideas off and to get strategies that I can model from them. I need to be interdependent. I need to depend on some other people. I need to team up with the guy in the office next to me or down the block or one floor up in the office building. I need to co-market with him, or I need to say, hey, I've got a piece of equipment. I'm only using it a part of the time. Maybe you want to use it part of the other time. Let me lease it out to you. Or you're hosting an event. Can I sponsor the event? Can I co-host it with you? Can I come and speak at the event? Can I help you promote it? And therefore, you give me a mention on your website. If you put your brochure in the waiting room of my doctor's office, then if I put your brochure in my waiting room, will you put my brochure in your waiting room? And these are interdependent, coexisting, moving to a higher plane. Okay, so where do we see that also? Well, we see it all the time in the way people live. Like right now in America, I don't know if it's going around the rest of the world, but certainly in America, we are like as close to like a civil war as you can imagine. Not from the violence of it, not like people killing each other, but people just really just believe totally different ways of living and just refuse to get along. Phil Brayfield's here, great to see you. So this is this is what I see in my experience of 50, however many years living in cities, living way out in the boonies. Like right now, I live practically in the middle of the desert. Like there's not even a lot of people around here. So I'm in a real independent living area. Everyone is doing their own thing, and we all understand that we're pretty much on our own out here. So I'm very happy and hopeful that all my neighbors own guns, because the cops, good luck to them getting here. We're out in the middle of nowhere. So we protect ourselves, and we go to the store ourselves. And everyone's garage in America, all over America, in rural, in outside of the cities, okay, in the suburbs and rural areas, everyone's got to have their own riding lawnmower, their own electric lawnmower, all their own tools. Oh, I got to have all my own tools, really? But, maybe once a week you're in there and you're with your tools. Maybe your neighbor could also use the bandsaw, and therefore you could have split the cost. In fact, you could have split the cost with 5 neighbors or 10 neighbors and be interdependent. Say, you keep the bandsaw and you keep the whatever and the power drill, and you keep the this and that. We'll all split the cost. We'll all work together, and we'll all have much more access to much better tools. Okay, that doesn't happen when you get far out into the middle of nowhere where people are living independently. Go way back in time to, again, I wasn't there, but I read the history books and studied history. I was pretty good in history. I love history. And of the pioneers and the Wild West, and yeah, Wild West, you're independent. You're on your own. There ain't nobody there to bail you out of getting ambushed by somebody or getting robbed, or where you're going to get food. You have to know how to hunt your own food and cook it. If you're going to cook it over, you need to have to start fire. You're going to have to build your cabin. Very independent. Well, since then, haven't we grown since then as a society to where the cities are where people are completely interdependent? Very few people in the big cities, even as a small percentage of people that own their own transportation. They don't own their own cars. They're taking cabs, they're taking buses, they're taking subways and trains. In other words, they're depending on somebody else to take them places. They are going out to eat more. There's more restaurants all over the place in the city. So they're depending on somebody else to go shopping for their food and to prepare their food and to clean up afterwards and to serve it to them. That's interdependent, and that's a higher form of living than independent, being out in the middle of the boonies of nowhere, having to grow your own food, or just make your own food yourself. I don't know how good a chef people are all over the place, but they can't be as good as having multiple restaurants of all different types of food in them, so that if you're living in a city, or even when you just visit there, you become interdependent. You're like, hey, what do we want? Tonight we'll eat Italian food, and tomorrow we'll eat French, and the next day we'll eat pizza, and then we'll eat Russian, and we'll eat this, and we'll eat whatever. We can have all different food because we're depending on other people to be running these businesses, cooking this food, doing the shopping, doing the preparation, cleaning up afterwards, paying the overhead so we can sit in a nice place and, have a nice ambiance and have a nice meal. So, and we're willing to pay for that. So it's interdependence. Okay, so again, way back the old days, everyone, was on a farm, growing your own food, and you eat what you grow, and all that kind of stuff. And way back in prehistoric times, from what I understand, the hunter-gatherer, you're hunting and you're gathering your own food. That's it. Interdependence, higher form of living. So here's the deal. Everyone knows that dependence is the lowest form of living. I don't even work, and I am on food stamps and welfare and Obamacare and all the, I need, take, gimme. And sometimes it's for valid reasons, but very often, just because things like that are set up for the needy, there's going to be enterprising people who are thinking, let me figure out how to take advantage of that. And I will be on food stamps for 30 years and just claim, I can't find a job. Or I will stay on welfare because I'll just keep having more kids, and that allows me to get my welfare check going. And keep going, and I'll just stay here, or I'll live in the projects forever, or I'll work a minimum wage job forever and think that's a career, and then I'll have to demand a raise in the minimum wage, because instead of raising my value to the marketplace, that's how you actually raise your pay, I will be dependent and say, I'm just going to work in fast food my whole life. I can't even imagine such a thing, even though, of course, I did all the entry-level type of jobs there is. I never thought of any of them like, gee, you better raise this to a living wage, because I'm going to grow up and support a family, stay here my whole life. This is a career. working fast food or a paper route or retail store. I mean, what are you thinking? So, but I say that, but there's so many millions of Americans that actually are thinking that. They're thinking the way to get more pay is to be totally dependent and to beg for it, ask for it, strike for it, demand it, whatever you want to call it, but it's up to somebody else to give it to me, instead of saying I'll be independent and I will go study after work and take some courses and learn how to do something, and I will make myself more valuable. Or I'll just show up earlier, stay later, ask questions of the manager all I can, and I'll move up and become a manager. Something, come on now. But the higher form, so dependent, everyone knows dependence, lowest form. So, right, so when we're first born, babies, totally dependent, and then a lot of people, if they were lucky enough to get old enough to be totally dependent again. I need somebody to deadpan, and I'll need somebody to, read books to me, do whatever if I get that old, right? So dependence, the lowest form of living, the least self-determination, the least really of enjoying freedom and things to do and choice, like you're totally dependent. Everyone knows that. The next form up, independent. You're on your own. But the highest form up, especially in business, interdependence. Okay, so this is the issue as I see, just to get on a little political example here, because I mentioned the Civil War, this politics of the right and the left, is the left is made up of people who love being dependent, the very poor, love all these liberal, progressive, I mean, they're going backwards programs, but they call them progressive. Very smart marketing, by the way. I'll cover that later, what's in the name. So you name it progressive, but of course you have people going, but anyway, the most dependent people love the liberal thinking. More stuff from the government. Free college, free food, free this, free Obama phones, free, and give me free, gimme. Dependent. Love liberal everything. So the cities are full of lots of those dependent people voting liberal and staying liberally run by liberals for decades. And cities are crumbling as a result. Then you have the independent, which are more the conservative thinkers. I'm independent. I do my own thing. I'm out here and I'm rural and I need my own gun because I got to protect myself. And I need my own farm. I need my own truck. I need my own I'll drive into town when I can, when I need it, I'm on my own out here. Then you have the interdependence. We go back to the cities. We go back to the liberal side. The interdependents who are like, hey, this should be one big happy family. Obama never wanted to be president of the U.S. He wanted to be president of the world. Interdependent. Hey, let's sign that ridiculously crappy climate change agreement where the U.S. is just giving away billions of dollars to needy countries. Or right now you see it with Trump. Oh, let's intervene in Syria and let's get involved in their civil war where we have no business being involved in their civil war, but we decide that their government's doing something bad. We're going to take action against their government on behalf of their people. What the heck are you talking about? Like, this is the interdependent phase of life. And that's the area where Trump is true to his liberal democratic roots before he turned Republican, which is, not here to talk about that. I actually co-host a podcast called Lessons Learned from Donald Trump. We discuss a lot of these things, the mixed up policies of Donald Trump, where, anti-Trumpers abound on both sides of the aisle because nobody, they can't figure out where he's coming from. And so is he in favor of smaller government? Well, he's cutting all these regulations. But then he's like, we've got to do government health care. We just have to. And we have to make sure everyone's covered. And, what are you talking about? Like, so he wants big government in some places. He wants smaller government in other places. People who want bigger government are going to tend to be either dependent and love getting from that bigger government, or interdependent with this big liberal bleeding heart, one world, everyone together, we're all helping each other out kind of thing. And Trump's America First doesn't fit in there, right? America First means, hey, okay, we'll help those people, but we're $20 trillion in debt. So helping the rest of the world is a long way off. Right now, we got to hire American, fire American, whatever he says. Hire, whatever he says. And whatever he says today is different than what he says tomorrow. But anyway, it's all about America, America, America. Not this what's best for the planet, what's best for the world. That's a more liberal, interdependent way of thinking. So that's where I see the split in the politics here, is the lowest form of living dependency are on the liberal side, and the highest form of living, interdependency, also on the liberal side. Very interesting. And then in the middle, the independent is the conservative side. That's the split. Now, in your business, it's the same way. You don't want to be in a business that's dependent, right? Where you have like all your eggs in one basket. You've got one client, a big government contract, and you're dependent on that one commercial client you have or whatever it is. And because who knows what happens to that one deal. As soon as it goes away, there goes your business. Or in marketing, you don't want to be dependent on one way of marketing. Hey, I do Google AdWords, and it works like crazy, and I don't do anything else. Really? I'm sure you know it's changing their algorithm all the time. Like, you know, you can get slapped and they can just change something. And I've seen entire businesses wiped out. Hey, I was on the first page of Google for 3 years, raking in the cash, never put any other ways into my marketing. That's all I did, Google AdWords. Then I got slapped. They changed what we're doing. Can't be found, and my business is over. So you don't want to be dependent as a business owner on anything. But you don't want to stop at being independent. You want to move above to be interdependent and think every day, how can I work with somebody? You see somebody says, hey, I'm doing such and such. Just happened this morning. Somebody posted on Facebook, hey, I just got a new position. So, it was yesterday, but it was a holiday. They posted, hey, I just took a new position. I got accepted to this, whatever. And I'm like, hey, call me tomorrow. Got some ideas. So we spoke this morning. I'm like, all right, so what are you doing? Well, I have clients who need stuff, business owners, and you have something that helps business owners, so let's talk. Let's be interdependent. Let's work together. Let's help each other out. If we were independent, wouldn't that be crazy? That would mean he would say, I got to go get clients one at a time. I got to find all my own clients and place all my own ads and do all my own everything, one at a time. I got to do everything. The smarter way is to say, who's already organized my clients into my prospects, my prospective who that I want to deal with, my clients, in one place, and has that trusted authority relationship with them that can recommend me, like putting my brochure in their waiting room, or letting me write an article in their newsletter, or putting a blog post onto their blog, and putting a guest post or being a guest on their podcast. How can we work together? So when you see somebody says, hey, I'm doing this, I want you to be thinking, yeah, that's got nothing to do with my business, but that's a knee-jerk reaction. They don't want you to go to a higher level of interdependence and start thinking, but how could I possibly figure out how to work with that person? How could I leverage what they have for my benefit, and I'll have them leverage what I have for their benefit? And I can go on and on with all the details. Contact me if you want to. Go to stevesipress.com/help and fill out a form, tell me about your situation. And if it sounds interesting and exciting enough, then we'll get on the phone and I'll help you out to do this and all kinds of other things I talk about. So that's Wisdom Wednesday for today. I don't want to hear any more business owners saying I'm independent, as if that's the highest plane, the best way to be. Yeah, that's what I was taught, and that's what a lot of people are taught. Declaration of independence, as if that's the best place to be. But if this country made a declaration of interdependence, then we would rise to a different level. So in your life, in your business, I'm urging you to make that decision, to wake up every day, go to bed every night thinking, I'm going to rise above this. I own my own business, I do them all myself, and to start to get into interdependence. Who has expertise that can help me? Who has blazed this trail before and gone on the path I want to go and is where I want to be, that I could reach out to for some help and some support? Who could I co-market with? Who can I co-promote with? Who can I go deliver services with? Who can I work with? Make sense? I mean, try going to a McDonald's and tell me they don't have a Star Wars toy in their Happy Meal, like, or whatever the latest big movie is. Right now, they probably have a Wonder Woman toy in their thing, and then there's a Penguins 3 or a Star Wars 11 or Despicable 2 or whatever's coming out. Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's, how about your business is thinking, how can I leverage all that fun and success and notoriety and like people love them? How can I leverage all of that love this company's getting and bring us some of that to my company. And also, obviously, in return, I've got to figure out a way that I can help them. So McDonald's knows if I put your Star Wars toy into my Happy Meal, I'm helping Star Wars spread the Star Wars phenomenon to another generation of kids who will grow up saying, I got to collect every Star Wars thing, I got to see every movie, I got to buy everything, I love Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. McDonald's helps them do that, and in return, they're helping McDonald's sell more Happy Meals because kids got to come running in and go, hey, I don't have all the figurines. I got to get the, I'm not a Star Wars guy. Could have picked another example, couldn't I? But I got to get the Darth Vader. I got to get the Luke, the Force, Yoda. See, there you go. You know, so anyway, that's it for today. Wisdom Wednesday. Oh, as always, I don't go to the comments early enough. I apologize. Rich, thanks for being here. Which watch on the replay since you're on the beach on vacation. I love it. I love all of that you're going to watch it on the replay. And I'm an entrepreneur enjoying the vacation week. I mean, isn't this a mess? Like, you go to work on a Monday, you're off on Tuesday, people are at like barbecues until like it gets dark, still drinking and partying, and like you're supposed to like go to work the next day, and then everyone treats today like it's a Monday and doesn't get anything done. And then tomorrow's the day before Friday, so already they're kind of mentally checking out, and then Friday's Friday, and like the week's over. So very smart. I love it. Unlike me, you're much smarter than me. You're on vacation this week. I have taken on way too many projects recently, and I have way more to do than any one person should even be thinking about getting done. But I love what I do, so I pretty much don't take vacations. I love what I do. I take a vacation every day. You know, that's how I do. And I've had this argument with coaches and mentors before that are like, oh, you need to take, you know, time. I'm like, look, I work this much, and then I go play golf, or then I go sit by the pool, or then I go watch a movie wipe the shower, or I do it. I'll take my vacation every day. I'm jealous of you there, Rich, but I can't do the whole long vacation. I get stir crazy. I just have to do something. I'm like, days are passing by. I'm not where I want to be in life. I haven't reached the potential I believe I should reach. I'm not in any position here to be lounging around doing nothing. That's just how I feel. But anyway, enjoy your vacation. Latanya, Phil, anybody else watching here, thanks for being here. Hopefully this is one you not only listen to, watch, intake, but you put this into action. First you start thinking about it and say, yeah, that's a good point. Or maybe you don't. Argue with me. Then put a comment or send me an email, steve@stevesipress, and say, you don't know what you're talking about. Interdependence sucks. And independent, doing everything myself, well, that's the greatest way to be. Declaration of Independence. Woo! Happy Independence Day. How about Happy Interdependence Day? Claim that today for yourself and watch the great results that come to you. Thanks for being here today on Wisdom Wednesday. I will go on Throwback Thursday, where I dig something out of the vault from either a short time ago, long time ago. We have a lot of fun with it, and I will include a business lesson pretty much as always in my daily videos. I will see you then.